Today I picked up the new 15-inch Microsoft Surface laptop. This is the CoPilot Snapdragon X Elite laptop, the 16 gigabyte of RAM and 256 SSD version. Now this is Microsoft's 7th generation Surface laptop, but now it's powered by Qualcomm's Snapdragon X Elite chipset, ensuring blazing performance, and they're promising absolutely absurd battery longevity. Of course, over the next few weeks, I'll certainly test that out, but for today, I'll unbox this, set it up, and dive into a few features that Microsoft offers in this new Surface laptop. Now, there's various versions of this laptop, and of course, you could spec this out as high as you want, but it's going to range from price from over $1,000 to well over $2,000, depending on the spec and version you go with. I think for this one, I paid around $1,200, and I ultimately ended up getting a gift card and a few other bonuses with purchasing this from Best Buy directly. The packaging overall in the box, though, is very premium. I did end up going with the Platinum version. There's also a Graphite, Sapphire, and Dune option, but I personally preferred the Platinum when seeing it in person. Microsoft really delivered on the presentation and unboxing experience when unboxing these Surface laptops. They did a phenomenal job with the minimal packaging, and it looks really clean and premium overall. We'll set the Surface aside real quick though as we dive into more contents in the box, like the documentation. Then we also have, of course, Microsoft's proprietary charging brick, which is a 65-watt charging brick with the proprietary adapter for plugging that in and powering it up. You'll also get, of course, the actual adapter to plug it into the wall. Anyways, jumping back to the Surface laptop, we're going to go ahead and quickly remove the paper from the exterior here and dive right into this gorgeous looking laptop. The Platinum colorway here looks excellent. It's very premium. I will say the weight is evenly distributed in this laptop, so it feels great in the hand overall, and it's not too heavy for a 15-inch laptop. I think size-wise, this is probably ideal for most, especially if you travel, but I do want to note it does look a lot like a MacBook. It's really the Windows version of a MacBook, to be honest, seeing this in person. Now, comparing it to my 14-inch M3, you'll see the size difference between a 14-inch and the 15-inch here, but it's very reminiscent in terms of the premium design and build to a MacBook. But again, you're going to have Windows on there, which is nice. In terms of ports, you have plenty of ports, and you even get a headphone jack, which is pretty crazy to see. It's nice to see that there, though. And then, of course, that proprietary charging port overall looks kind of reminiscent to a MacBook Air with that wedge design. Personally, I really like the build of this Surface laptop. I think Microsoft delivered a really premium design and build to this lineup, and it's just a really solid and durable laptop. Opening it up, we'll go ahead and remove the additional paper. Just look at that keyboard. Microsoft has delivered an incredible keyboard experience and trackpad on this laptop. Easily one of my favorite keyboard trackpad combos on any laptop right now. Testing this out in the store, for example, I just immediately fell in love with typing on here, and the trackpad just feels absolutely phenomenal. I can't praise that enough. Microsoft did a really good job here in terms of hardware on this laptop. You certainly will not be disappointed. Now, setting this up, it's pretty easy to set this up right out of the box. You're going to go through some general prompts, selecting language, for example, selecting where you're at globally, and then you'll go through and you'll configure your keyboard. Once you configure the keyboard, you're going to, of course, go through all of your additional setup like Wi-Fi to connect to the internet. And once you connect to the internet, you'll have a few other prompts that you'll have to go through. You're, of course, going to have to wait for any updates as it's looking for updates, which honestly, right out of the box, it did have an update, and it took not too long to update, but I will say it certainly took its time in terms of updating right out of the box. It is nice to see an update on day one, but do wish some of those updates were a little bit faster, of course, because I just want to dive in here, right? I just want to get right into the laptop. Now, looking at a few of the highlights here, that the features that are highlighted here, at least, you will find that Microsoft really focused this on AI with its new chipsets. Its total focus is AI, like most companies right now. You'll be able to do a lot of different things with AI with this specific laptop. Now, the biggest feature that was shown off, recall, of course, will not be available day one, which is really unfortunate since they spoke so highly of this recall feature, even introducing their new chip specific to handle the recall feature. But of course, with all of its security concerns, it makes sense to hold that off for now. It will be interesting to test that out long term. I'm very curious just to see the use cases for it, how well it works, and I'm really curious just from a security standpoint what Microsoft does to further ensure that your data, etc., all stays on device on your own account. Now, going back to the trackpads real quick, I did want to mention using this, setting up the Surface. I can't praise this trackpad enough. Comparing it to my MacBooks, while the MacBook has a pretty good trackpad, it's not even close on the Surface. The Surface laptop definitely wins in terms of the overall hardware for keyboard and that trackpad. And while it's finishing up the updates here, I did want to mention that I might pick up a Surface Pro as well. I've had Surface Pros before. The Surface Pro 8 I actually covered on this channel previously. I really enjoy using the tablet combination and the versatility that you get with the Surface Pro, but I really wanted to test out these new Surface laptops before jumping into the Surface Pro. And now that the updates are out of the way, I'm going to quickly sign into my Microsoft account. Of course, I will sign into that off camera here real quick. Now that I'm signed into my Microsoft account, it's going to go through and want to set up your authentication for the Surface laptop, which is pretty straightforward. You, of course, can use the camera for face unlock on the Surface laptop, which I'll go ahead and quickly set up here. It's pretty straightforward. Basically, just look at the camera and then it's set up. From there, you can, of course, create a PIN, additional options to ensure that you can authenticate into your laptop and into your account. Now that I've created the PIN and I've signed into the laptop, it's basically going to go through the remaining setup here, which is pretty straightforward. I'm going to disable some of the features here. Of course, I don't want advertisers just getting my data, so saying no to most of these, which I highly recommend you do review some of this before you finish setting up your laptop. Don't just blindly hit OK. Look at those terms. All right, now that we've done that, we're going to get a message again about recall. Again, it's just really interesting to see the launch of this. The whole focus was on recall, and then they quickly had to pull that back. But nonetheless, going back to the setup here, looks like it's going to see if I want to set up from my previous backups. I have plenty of backups here, but I'm going to just skip right over this and set this up as a brand new laptop. I want to truly experience this as a brand new machine right out of the box. Of course, it's going to continue loading here, and while it continues to load, I'll just kind of sit back and give it a second. I do have to say, I really like the bright display. This isn't an OLED display, so just so you're aware, the Surface laptops do not have the OLED like the Surface Pro does, or the many other CoPilot Snapdragon X Elite laptops that you'll find. It just simply doesn't have the OLED, which honestly, for me, not a huge deal breaker. This display looks phenomenal, and it has 120 hertz, which is also very nice to see in a laptop. Now, here is a Office 365 setup. It is going to offer a 1-month trial, so I'll just sign into that and accept the terms for a 1-month trial for now, and then quickly breeze through that setup. Now that we've gotten past all of that, the Surface laptop is finally set up. Thank you for bearing with me. If you're still watching, definitely subscribe and hit like if you are. I really appreciate it. Now that we've had it all set up, though, I do want to jump into a handful of features to talk about, well, CoPilot and some of the AI features that are featured with this Surface lineup. Initially starting out, I'll just ask, well, how do I make a stuffed crust pizza? It's going to quickly go through your prompt and it's going to provide you some feedback on your question, and it does it pretty fast. I mean, it's super responsive from just initially launching from that CoPilot button on the keyboard. And then I'm also going to ask it to, well, generate a picture, I guess, of a stuffed crust pizza. And it uses DALL-E to do this. And it does a pretty good job from what I've seen overall. It's pretty quick as well at generating these images. So once you generate the image, you do get many other options to kind of play around and mess around with the image. Either make it pixelated, for example, or like an oil painting or something. You can further ask CoPilot here to adjust the image that best suits you. All right, now it looks like it has generated that initial image that I requested, and it looks pretty good. I am going to ask it to make a pixel art version. I'm just curious what that will look like as well. I've had a lot of fun playing with ChatGPT, Perplexity Pro, Gemini over the last several weeks, and I have to say I'm really curious to see Microsoft's implementation of this with Copilot on this specific laptop, since the focus was so heavily focused on AI with the launch of these new laptops and their partnership with Snapdragon chipsets. Looking at the image, well, certainly it's a pixelated stuffed crust pizza. It looks pretty good, actually. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below on some of your use cases for ChatGPT, for AI in general, and for Copilot. What are some things that you hope to use this for? Really looking forward to that conversation in the comments down below. Now, this is also a touch screen. I don't know if I mentioned that in the beginning. It's very responsive, and having that 120 hertz, it is a very nice display. Overall, I'm really happy right out of the box with the experience of this Surface laptop from Microsoft. I think they really delivered a pretty nice experience, at least day one experience. And with that, that's been my unboxing and setup of the new Microsoft Surface Laptop X Elite. It is a very interesting laptop. I'm really curious to see what Qualcomm and Microsoft do long term. This is a really nice day one experience so far, though. I really love the display on this thing. It looks phenomenal, and for not being OLED, but being super responsive, it is a great looking display. And then the just hardware in general, the keyboard, the trackpad, etc. Like I've said, it is just excellent. But of course, let me know in the comments down below your thoughts. Also, what would you like to see me test out with this laptop in terms of performance, the build, etc.? What would you like me to test out? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, thank you for watching. Take care. Stay safe.